What is up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to Nation's Corner. I am Front Row. Joining me this week, we have a full cast of characters. We have Tony Justice, the greatest truck driver of all time, Debhausen, the great and powerful, all the way from Monrovia, Mongrovian Mike, and our special guest host this evening, Brian Cervantes of Mission Pro Wrestling. What's up, people?
What's happening?
Well,
you know us.
Man, it has been a busy week. Everybody's getting ready for the holidays. I see Christmas decorations, Thanksgiving decorations, turkeys are flying out the door, and we're headed to Mission Pro Wrestling Silver Bells in just a few weeks. Silver Bells 2, that is.
Yep.
Yep.
Part 2.
Right, yeah. So before we jump into the Mission Pro stuff, and I've got a lot of questions, for you guys and for Brian. We're going to cover the week in pro wrestling, but Brian, this week you actually watched SmackDown with us. What was that experience like for you? It's been a minute since you watched the WWE.
He needs a trophy.
Yeah, I think it's been. I don't even remember the last time I watched SmackDown. It had to have been almost like 8 years ago or something like that.
Lord.
So
Wow.
y'all listen to y'all every day, pressure me into talking about how good the product was. Finally convinced me. I think y'all been trying to convince me for like the last 4 or 5 months or so, saying that the product was important and everything. And I really enjoyed the product a lot. It was a very enjoyable, fast-paced show. It didn't feel like a whole 2 hours.
Right.
No.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we talk about on the show is just the difference that we've all seen in the cohesive storylines, the production, the performers, the wrestlers seem to be more excited to be doing what they're doing, and even the little things that we've seen in the background, little Easter eggs and things that you kind of have to pay attention for. So yeah, I agree. There's a lot more going on. It's a lot more involved and invests you more.
Right.
So, but we do want to talk about all the things that are going on in Mission Pro. I know you guys have been working hard on 2023 plans, but let's not jump ahead. So in just a few weeks, 3 weeks from tonight, actually, we'll be in San Antonio. I think there's a large group of the Nation's Corner, and the Busted Open Nation will be descending upon your hometown.
Oh, yeah.
So how have you guys been getting prepared for the big show?
Well, right now, we're just in the, getting the word out phase and stuff like that, trying to get more exposure to the show itself in the San Antonio, Texas area. That's going pretty good. Right now, a lot of things are going on with the holidays and stuff like that. So running holiday shows is always very challenging, to say the least, as far as trying to get people to decide, do I go spend money for a wrestling show or do I save some money for some Christmas gifts? So it's always a very hard sell to people sometimes, but I think that right now, we're doing pretty good on ticket sales and, moving along. So we'll see how that goes as far as attendance goes. But otherwise, I know it's going to be a really great show and very exciting show. We got a lot going on in that show. So we got 9 matches, a couple pre-show matches, and then 7 matches on the show that are going to be hard-hitting and exciting.
Yeah, you know what, Christmas is a great time for gift giving. So maybe you can give tickets to Mission Pro, or if you're not local, maybe a subscription to Title Match Network.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonably priced gifts, I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things,
Stocking stuffer.
yeah, right. You can put the whole network right in a stocking. It's pretty cool. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, and we talk about this a lot, is Mission Pro is such a platform for new talent. And, over the last 3 years since we've been, involved with you guys, we've seen a lot of now big names come through your doors and perform. But on this coming show, we're starting to see some names that I'm not even all that familiar with. And I know that you're scouting a lot of exciting new talent for next year. So from that process perspective, how are you able to go out and find all these new and exciting people?
Tons of YouTube watching, so you watch other shows, watch other different independent wrestling throughout the thing. Then, I rely on a lot of y'all just to tell me a lot of names that, hey, you should check this person out. And then, if I see what I like, and then I reach out to them and they, respond professionally, or, they got some good matches up that I can watch, then we start to make the judgment based off of that. But a lot of it's just, just going down a rabbit hole of watching YouTube and finding somebody that strikes your eye that's like, wow, I think this person's got some talent, and then just kind of seeing how they conduct themselves on social media from there.
Right.
And in my opinion,
sorry, go ahead, Tony.
No, I'm sorry, Fabro. In my opinion, it would be easier for talent, and I'm not a talent per se, at all, but just from the outside looking in, if someone is just coming out of school and has some matches under her belt, his or her belt, have someone make them a bit of a kind of a highlight reel in a way for promoters to look at, such as yourself, to be able to look on YouTube and say, oh, this person has a best of or a highlight reel or something. And that makes it easier, I would think, to be able to see what this person's all about.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've reached out to people who actually don't even have some matches up yet. But I was like, send me whatever you got during training, Yeah. And I see what I can work with that, because at Mission Pro, me in particular are always trying to find the next big thing, So like, let's debut somebody that no one has seen at all, or somebody, maybe they've been seen, but they've only been seen in a specific area. So I'm always trying to find, like, that diamond in the rough. That's that person that's like, if we get them on our show first, maybe we get them a good chance to get noticed, nationwide and things like that. And it kind of sparks of, their career right off the bat, because if they wrestle on our show, or, like say a women's wrestling army or something like that, they're going to get a lot of notoriety right off the bat from the beginning. So it's always, you always want to be able to find that person yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've seen that. We've seen so much talent come out of Mission Pro that has gone on to do big things, whether it's, go to NXT or go to AEW. We've seen it so much. There's so many of the ladies that we've seen a lot over the past couple of years that the first time we saw them was at Mission Pro.
Yeah, and then we've always had a good group of people looking for them. I don't want to take all the credit, because before we had Robin Reed, who was the booker for Mission Pro, and she was always introducing a lot of new talent also, and then Melanie and myself. So it's always been like a team effort also, as far as like going out there trying to like find that person that's like really good, or just relying on information from the other women themselves, saying like, hey, have you seen anyone else that might fit this role, might fit the locker room? And then they tell us, and I rely on them a lot too, because you never want to bring in somebody who's going to be a problem in the locker room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's obviously, yeah, definitely. That's obviously a two-way street. Like, you can give people the opportunity, but if they don't make the most of the opportunity, that's on them. And I say that because we're seeing someone that's made a big splash in Mission Pro has been Danny B. She was on the Oklahoma shows, and now she's teaming with Charity King for against Bougie Reality for the Mission Pro tag titles. And I think this is a big moment for her. It's a big spotlight for her to be in this title match. So what was one of the things that impressed you about Danny B?
Danny B's been helping us. She used to be one of those ones that helped us set up the shows also, so she's been helping since before she started wrestling. I've met her back when I was running the other promotion, so it goes back a little bit with Danny. She's always been eager, very polite, very, very driven. I know she's trained with from the likes of like at Booker T's. She's trained a little bit with Tessa and things like that, and so she comes well trained, and then she has a great attitude, and then you put those two together, and then the rest is just putting on good matches.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now, Brian.
Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I just have a question for Brian. Brian, we always hang out a lot, and I'm looking forward to hanging out in person finally with you. But we pick your brain, and you play games with us, like you have all of us like pick wrestlers and pick matches, and we do you'll set up parameters with this. You'll be like we played a couple of weeks ago. You set up the 3-hour rule, like an old school pay-per-view, no going over, picking 8 matches or whatever, and then working it out from there and work it. Let the people know it's not just, hey, I want this person to fight this person, and they're gonna go out there and have a match. Let everybody know what it's like to, like, in the weeks heading up to and finally getting through, running a show, just a single show.
Oh yeah, like I explained to y'all in the scenario, like, first of all, you start with a budget, So if you start with we have $4,000 to run a show, you have to take in everyone's travel, everyone's gas, everyone's, all the X factors that go involved in the show, their payouts and everything like that. So, like, yeah, you can want to book a show all you want and have all these big names on it, but then you got to say, is that going to work for $4,000? So,
Right.
At the end of the day, money's always the biggest factor, So, you always want to book like all these big names and all that, but that doesn't always work. And I find it more interesting, or at least it's more rewarding for me to sometimes not always book the big names and always find somebody that's not well known and get something out of them. Then it becomes more rewarding. It's like, because people kind of doubt you. It's like, I don't know about this person. But then when they see them wrestle, they're like, oh man, that person's really good. Where did you find this person? Well, I told you all along that this person was good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can go and say, oh, let me book 2 big names, and you don't really get nothing out of that match, And then you're like, you look back and you're like, man, I spent like $2,000 of the budget on that match, and that's all I got out of it. So it's a little bit of, both. And then, running a show is, for any promoter out there, they could tell you it's very stressful as far as like just the logistics part of it, getting everyone where they need to be, get there and people on time. We run with agents, you got to have cameramen, everything. So it's always, and independent wrestling, you always have somebody like, oh, I can't make it, So we always try not to book people like that, So it's always finding out who are good, reliable people, and that's hard sometimes in independent wrestling, So
yeah,
there's a lot of things that go involved into it.
Yeah, we see a lot even at, the meet and greets that we go to, that people end up canceling last minute, or there's travel issues and they can't get there. And, I can imagine that if that happens last minute, you're scrambling.
Yeah, well, we've had that happen to us a few times. Front row and Tony can attest, because there's been people that booked on the show and you're like, whoa, this is the match that was advertised, but especially in the winter times, you get more of that happening because of, this travel and, there's a lot of delays in flights and things like that. But I always have a couple people on standby just in case that happens. And I try never to stress out over those kind of changes, because if you stress out at all, that just goes back down to the performers. They start stressing out on things that they don't need to see that, So I always expect at least 4 or 5 changes by the time the show starts. That way, it's like, if you've already said in your mind that these things are all going to go, everything's going to go wrong. So when everything goes right, you're just happy,
True.
Well, talking about reliable and someone who's been an absolute cornerstone for you guys, and you had an eye on her talent early, has been Maddie Rankowski. She's been a big part of Mission Pro pretty much for all the shows, and during her time, over the last 3+ years, she's been everywhere. She's been on NWA, she's been on AEW, but yet she always is a big part of your show. And you can speak to her more than I can, but we always love seeing her on the screen.
Yeah, Maddie, is by far one of my favorite out there today. She's always I seen her when she very first started, when she went to Hybrid, and I was like, who is that girl? But she's always been driven. She's very athletic, has a great attitude on her. There's nothing wrong to say about Maddie. She has been with Mission Pro. She was in the very first match, I think. We put her up against Jazz, because at the time Jazz was help training her, so she was like her, it was a student versus teacher matchup, and she's always performed. And I remember Maddie suffered a couple injuries at times, and they were like, "Hey, well, can you do commentary?" She jumped in on that, so she's very flexible in what she can do. So that's always good that you can have performers that are like, "Well, I don't have a match for you, but can you do this?" And then if they're down for it, it makes it a lot easier to book her, book people like
Exactly.
that. Instead of people who are just like, "Well, I only can do wrestling. You can't ring announce. You can't do anything else. It's all you know to do is just wrestle." It's like you make yourself a lot more valuable when you do extra things.
Yeah.
Like her and Jasmine, the same thing. One time, we didn't even book Jasmine, and Jasmine was helping out backstage and stuff like that. And then it was like, "Well, I feel like I got to use you somehow. Here's the belt. Go hit Maddie with it." So, and then after that, Jasmine was on all those shows.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed about Maddie early on when I started going to Mission Pro shows, me and Garza were there at Keep 'em Talking together. And after the show, they were tearing the ring down, and me and Garza jumped right on in there and started helping tear the ring down and put it in the truck. And Maddie was right there amongst all of the activity going on, taking the ring down. I mean, she was right there in the midst of it, In fact, I passed the ring post on to her and she helped load it in the truck. It was just, she was right there, hands on, and that really impressed me about her because I've noticed her work ethic in the ring and even out of the ring. She's very hungry, that I've noticed. Very hungry.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that about a lot of the women there. They're pretty, active and helping out. If we do notice that we have people that are not active and not helping out, usually we just don't bring them back.
Yeah,
because it's a team effort in running a show, and it's like, I don't want to bring anyone that thinks they're too good to like, pick up a board and help. At least act like you're helping.
She's very hungry. I'm always hungry.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of my other favorite people that has been a big part of Mission Pro is the current Mission Pro champion, Genocide, and she's going to be defending her title against Janai Kai, the Kick Demon. We saw Janai and Thunder have this incredible match, and I think that was the first time that I had seen Janai Kai. I know she's been around a minute, but I was like, oh my God, who is this person that just had this like super physical match with Thunder Rosa? And here we are, she's been back before, but now to see her in this title match is pretty exciting. So what do you expect from this match?
A lot of leg work, a lot of kicking on both sides. I was thinking maybe this should not even be a wrestling match. Maybe this should be a kickboxing match. I could just see them two just not even wrestling, but just kicking the hell out of each other and going back and forth.
I think we'd still love to see that.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing. It's going to be a very physical match. Anytime Genocide is in the ring, she's always going to have a very physical match. And the same can be said about Janai Kai. I've never seen Janai Kai, just go out lightly on lose to somebody, so she's always going to put 100% effort in there. And it definitely will be a very hard-hitting main event. Yeah,
no doubt. And we have to talk about the elephant in the room. So,
so
this.
Wow.
And we're off the rails.
Wow. Elder, are you going to take that?
He's speechless.
We're going to have fun.
Looks like he's going to take it.
He'll wait till he's there in person in 3 weeks.
Oh, God.
No, but I'm talking about Dave LaGreca out here talking about him being the man of Mission Pro. And I'm sorry, I've seen JP Harlow represent the brand. I've seen him there working hard. I've seen him have great matches. We had to step up and sponsor JP because I don't think that Dave.
We?
All right, sorry, me. We as a group sponsor all of Mission Pro. I am sponsoring JP. So I saw some stuff on social media. Dave LaGreca may have gotten angry. I consider Dave a friend, but I don't know how much that's going to last after this show. We'll have to wait and see. So this is going to be interesting because with Simon Miller coming in, and he can go. I'm excited to see what's going to happen here, but I my money has to be on JP. JP is just a big part of Mission Pro.
Yeah, I would agree. JP is like pretty much the heart and soul of Mission Pro because he's in charge of the ring crew. So without JP, a lot of things don't happen as far getting the show together and things like that. And he's been there. He hasn't been there since the beginning, but he's definitely stepped into a role of leadership that, is like inside and outside the ring that, second to none. So I do feel like he's been slighted a lot. Dave LaGreca has been at 2 Mission Pro shows. He got picked up in a limousine. He's been pampered and everything like that. So it's like, he wants to stay in 5-star hotels. He doesn't even stay at the Airbnb with everyone else. So it's kind of like he's getting that diva treatment, So we'll see. Like JP, has been eating cans and beans out on the shed and stuff like that. So he's a little pissed off and that he sees Dave get all this spotlight and notoriety.
Yeah, I saw Dave's rider. I saw his requirements for his appearance at Mission Pro. Talking about pierogies and chocolates and 5-star restaurants. And
well, you can't go on vacation without some pierogies. So
I would agree.
Give the man what he wants.
You know how hard it is to find a pierogi in Texas?
Well, Mongrovian Mike is in Long Island, which is pretty close to Pennsylvania here. He can find some place that sells pierogies, and he's going to buy some and bring them to you in Texas.
Oh. He's looking like I am?
No. Dave's going to have to pack some in a Ziploc baggie for some of Violetta's. See? He's not going to settle for anything else. What does he think? You think I'll go get him some Mrs. T's pierogies in the frozen section.
Yeah. And then what?
I got a meat market down the street here that has the best homemade pierogies.
Yeah, speaking of Dave LaGreca, I've been reviewing that LaGreca lean move and I just don't feel that's safe to take place at Mission Pro. It's too devastating of a move. It's too dangerous. It's it's a health hazard to everyone in the first 2 or 3 rows.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to allow that move there.
All right. Well, listen. I think that Dave has been the one that's been slighted. I think nobody is giving him his due credit for bringing Mission Pro to the forefront. And the lean is all he's got. You're going to strip him of everything that he brings to the table?
Well, if he's really the man, he doesn't really need the lean. He's going to find a way to win anyway, or find his for his client to win.
Well, he's got Simon with him. So yeah. I think Simon, and now I know last time Simon and JP faced, I was on JP's team. But that's because Simon didn't have Dave with him. And I remain loyal to the Busted Open family, unlike Front Row there.
Oh, no. We're not going there. What exactly is Dave LaGreca bringing to the table here? He's part of this great show that has a huge footprint, lots and lots of listeners every day. When is he talking about this match?
True. This is his big send-off. This is his retirement match.
But he talked about it for 30
Just let him go off into the sunset with his LaGreca lean.
The move is over. There's big stars writing songs about it.
Look,
I
I'm with
know.
Brian.
You
No,
have an
no.
MTV VJ writing songs about him.
Yeah, that's all fine, well, and good. But
Even
there
the
are,
song is questionable. There's mentions of names of people in that song that I don't even approve of to be put on a Mission Pro show.
I agree.
Well, that's another topic.
Ah,
Yeah.
I agree.
well,
And
yeah,
there's
you
children
know,
in the front row. There's children in the audience. You're putting kids' lives at risk.
If
well,
you
I'm gonna
ban the
have to play-
LaGreca-Lean,
I'm gonna have to play devil's advocate for Dave LaGreca and say, wait a second, here, wait a
LaGreca.
second. There you go. The sound will probably be so fucking muddled at that event that you won't be able to hear any of the names said in my song.
hey, just remember one thing. You may ban the LaGreca-Lean, and if you do, Dave's gonna be pissed.
Yes.
He could be pissed all he wants.
Mm.
All right.
Well, I don't know.
Your funeral.
I am pretty excited about the show, though. We're all, like I said, we're all hyped. We're all going to be going there, or a bunch of us are going to be going there, and the folks that can't will be watching on Title Match Network. That's December 10th. I think the bell time is 6 Central, 7 Eastern, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And we are very excited. Brian, I'm really glad you're able to join us tonight and talk about Mission Pro, because you know how much we love everybody over there and you and the whole crew. And we're happy to support going into 2023. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And you are welcome to hang out. We're going to talk some more wrestling. We're going to talk about some SmackDown. We're going to talk about Full Gear, which is happening. The pre-show is on now, and I guess the pay-per-view is starting in about 30 minutes. So let us move on. We're going to probably talk about AEW in just a minute, but I wanted to just touch on SmackDown from last night, because every week it continues to be my favorite show. And I know people are probably tired of all the positivity, but Jesus, it's a fun show. It is just, and once again, Sami Zayn pops Jey Uso in the back. He almost got Solo this week. He didn't get Solo. But the story that they're telling with those guys is incredible. It's just so much fun. There's serious matches coupled with some comedy backstage, but all of it's just sort of gelling for me.
It also gives Roman a break. It also gives him a chance that he doesn't have to be in the ring all the time fighting and everything too. So this whole faction, the head of the table, everything is just like I said. If you don't think this gets you. If this doesn't get you into wrestling, I don't know what will. It's the best story going for years, out of years. We were surprised when it brought Deb back. We were like, okay, so now Deb's getting into it. She's watching Raw and everything, and SmackDown is her favorite, one of her favorite shows of the week now. And now we got this guy here. Who, Brian, when was the last time you even watched WWE programming? What year was it?
Yeah, it's been since that Brock Lesnar and Goldberg match. The first time when I think Goldberg won in like less than a minute or something like that. Yeah, it's been a long time. That was about the last time. I really enjoyed that main event. And it was a good way to end the show too, with the standoff and with the 5-on-5 there, and it built some excitement for whatever they're moving to next,
Right.
Yeah, and they set up the Survivor Series match for the War Games match, and with Kevin Owens returning, it was pretty exciting. And I think you're right. So from your perspective, as someone who's run shows and you look at things from a production perspective, did you feel like the whole show as an overall show was cohesive? Did they tell good stories? What were some of the hits and misses for you?
I don't really remember any misses, because to me the show ran so quick that I didn't even realize that I had just watched 2 hours of TV, which is a good thing, because I think the only miss for me is they only had one women's match, so if you got 2 hours of TV, you should have more than one women's match.
Right.
They did have a second women's segment, I believe, didn't they? Or was that just a segment they were showing from the week before with Shotzi and them?
Yeah.
That was a setup for the match that we saw. So
Yeah.
and we saw Shotzi, get sort of steal a win from Shayna Baszler, which was a good way to, sort of protect Shayna, I think. And they're continuing to tell that story of Shayna and Ronda as a cohesive team, even though Ronda is the current champion. But so Shotzi versus Ronda. Ronda's defending against Shotzi at the pay-per-view in a week. So yeah, I agree. It was a good setup for that match.
Yeah, and then bringing out the Raquel, help make out I think that's her name, Raquel Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
Help develop that story also to where it made it more realistic with Shotzi getting the win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so next week, just as a show note, I'll be my wife and I will be at WrestleCade. We're going to go see a bunch of friends and a bunch of wrestlers, and there's going to be shows and all that cool stuff. And so I won't be on the show, but you guys will be covering. I imagine you'll be previewing the pay-per-view next weekend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Cool. All right, so we'll talk more. You guys will talk more about that next week. I just wanted to talk about SmackDown because it's my favorite show on TV right now. I love what they're doing. It's just so much fun.
Oh, I really enjoyed the Mustafa Ali and Ricochet match.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good ass match.
Yeah, I do need to catch up on SmackDown from last night because I was watching Impact Overdrive, so I haven't gotten a chance to watch SmackDown yet. But Impact Overdrive was a really great show.
Yeah, I just want to touch on before we move on, Brian. You mentioned Mustafa Ali, and this is something that we've been talking about a lot lately: is bringing the realism to TV. Backstage, Ali confronted Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman was real shitty on Twitter recently about flippy stuff and wrestlers and all that. Ali called it out. He referenced it in the promo backstage, and I was like, thank you. You're not insulting the fans' intelligence. For those that are paying attention, for those that are on social media, and I know it's a smaller segment of the populace, but like it made sense. Like it closed that loop for me. I was like, okay, he's walking right up to Braun and going, hey, I saw what you said.
I thought
like,
that was Ricochet that mentioned that.
I'm sorry, it was Ricochet. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I have Ali in my head. No, you're right. It was Ricochet. But they had a back and forth on Twitter last week. And I was like, they have to bring this stuff to TV because the comments were like, well, Ricochet would never go up to him and say that in person, but he did. And I thought the tie-in was nice.
Yeah, I agree with that because a lot of times, some good stuff happens on social media that can really be tied into storyline, and sometimes they kind of miss the boat and miss the opportunity to do that. So I do like that they actually brought that up because like you said, it makes sense. It makes sense for him to be like, hey, what the hell?
Another point though, front row, is like you told us that they had to start because everyone is so aware of what's going on that they kind of create their own social media kayfabe stories going. I wonder if that has anything to do, and if they did that, then they pulled off something pretty cool. I mean, it was only a week ago, and now all of a sudden a week later they have this. So I wonder maybe you will see them be a team. They might help each other because Ali can talk and Braun can just sit there. It could be a team hell no thing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? He doesn't have to.
But that's a good point because we talk about, Sam Roberts always talks about this idea of new kayfabe, and that's bringing reality into the forefront and tying it into storylines where I don't know whether Braun's tweet was meant as like an actual dig or whether he was in character, and I don't care. But Ali at first came back on Twitter. That's why I was thinking of Ali. He was the first person to respond, and then Ricochet responded, and then they brought it to TV. And all of that was like, there's a blurring there, and no one was really insulted by it, but it was fun, and I liked it. So So Deb, why don't you give us a quick rundown of like a few exciting things that happened on the Impact show last night?
Well, like Money Mark and Neil have said in the chat right there, Impact has really been killing it. I keep preaching it every week. They're really like the unsung like number 2 show of the week pretty much now. Since crowds came back, they've really stepped up their game. Crew member Guido has been going to a lot of their shows in Tennessee, taking his daughter.
Yeah.
And Ruthie.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ruthie.
Shout out to Ruthie.
Yeah, shout out to Ruthie. It's awesome to see a teenage girl really, really enjoy good wrestling. So, but yeah, Impact's killing it. We got a few good things from this week on Impact from their normal Thursday show and then last night on Overdrive. Interesting stuff happening with Cardona and Chelsea. I'm not sure like what to think of it. Chelsea seemingly is leaving, saying she's going home. Cardona has been posting all this stuff on social media about Zack Ryder. So it feels like they're maybe hinting that they're going back to WWE. I think Cardona has unfinished business at WWE, you know, much like his friend Cody. So what do you guys think of all that stuff happening with Cardona and Chelsea?
Tony?
Well, Cardona, I mean, he's just killing it everywhere he goes on the independent scene. I tweeted it out last week where when Chelsea walked out of Impact and says she's, quote, going home, unquote, I put it out there on a poll, and I think everyone agreed with me that they thought that maybe Cardona and Chelsea would end up back in WWE, and I approve of that on one condition: if they let Matt Cardona be Matt Cardona and not go back to Zack Ryder. Let him be Matt Cardona.
I would absolutely love to see Zack Ryder because you guys know I'm a massive fan of Zack Ryder. I would love to see Zack Ryder, but we've all grown to love Matt Cardona. So, either way, whatever he decides, I think if he does go back, I feel like he would be able to do it the way he wants, because I've heard on so many podcasts his frustration about his previous WWE run just not really going the way he wanted, even though he was crazy over. And he feels that he still wasn't given the credit for not only how over he got on his own, but how he's, kind of responsible for the wrestling in social media and YouTube and all that stuff tying into wrestling. He was the first one that really did it on a major level. So,
yeah.
I think to your point, though, Deb, like, we've seen other people come and have their names changed, and obviously WWE has, they have a lot of equity into the Zack Ryder brand. I think I think they could do it in a way where they bring him back as Zack Ryder, because that is who he has been there, but actually as Matt Cardona, like just with the Zack Ryder name, but bring the actual guy that we've been seeing on the. I don't care if they give him the old name or not, but just let him be himself. Let him be who he is now, because that's the equity and the brand that he's built for the last several years. So I think a mix of two would be fine.
A mix of two. Matt Ryder.
Matt Ryder.
Like Steve said in the chat.
Zack Cardona.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be right, because Zack Ryder is a combination of two of his favorite TV characters of all time. So
right.
Now
shout out to Steve.
Zack Cardona, Tony D's cousin.
Oh God.
Yeah, no. All right, bring us up to speed on the Bully Ray stuff, because we got about 20 minutes.
Okay. All right. So Bully, he had his match with Moose last night, which he won. And then what? Okay. Then after Josh Alexander's match, Bully comes out and says that was a great wrestling match. You know, he basically gives him props and builds him up and you know, tells him that he's been very impressed with him. And then he did the, you know, the old bully swerve and started kicking his ass. And then he handcuffs Josh Alexander to the ring while Josh Alexander's wife is ringside yelling at him. He grabs Josh Alexander's wife and drags her over the barricade and threatens to powerbomb her on the concrete if Josh Alexander comes at him. So we see Bully, you know, being Bully, the classic Bully that we know and love. And it's just something different because you don't get that kind of physicality with a, you know, a non-wrestler. You know, he grabbed his wife and pulled her like by her hair, pretty much pulled her over the barricade. So what do you guys think of that? Yeah, I know I'm pretty sure most of you, maybe not Brian, saw the clip. So what do you guys think of how Bully did that and like the heat that he drew from that? Tony?
I thought that it was just great to see Bully. I mean, I knew it was coming, but the fact that Bully was taunting Josh with his wife, threatening to power drive her in the concrete, and telling him, you know, how could you trust me? Why would you even trust me? Like telling him, like basically, you know, why would you trust me? You know, I'm going to do, you know, I'm a heel, you know?
Yeah.
But the thing that I noticed the most about that whole segment was the crowd. I don't know how many was there in attendance, but it seemed like a stunned silence from the crowd while Bully was there taunting Josh, and you could hear Bully, you know, not even using a microphone, just you could hear everything he was saying to Josh, and it was just amazing. Like, this is the Bully that we all know and love. I mean, heel 101. He's just out there threatening to power drive Josh's wife, and he wanted the belt. He posed with the belt, and then he you know, threw his wife down at Josh and then walked away. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
I didn't see the incident, but if you're saying that he got a lot of heat off of it, then I guess he did his job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course the image of you know, a woman being handled that way. Now we understand she's a wrestler, like she's part of the show. Like we're not thinking that he picked somebody out of the audience and beat him up, and it was a threat of violence. So I'm kind of giving some leeway there, but I'm not a huge fan of that type of violent threat. I'm cool with intergender matches where two willing participants are in there having a match. But I get the heat. Like I get he's doing what he's doing, and he brought it just to the point before it became serious enough to not want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Bully understands how to get heat in 2022 without getting in actual trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was an example.
But this is the same guy that like powerbomb a 80-year-old lady through a table and
yeah.
Well, yeah, I have it right up behind me and behind the back. I have it in you know, a nice memorial.
You went to school with Mae Young, didn't you, Elder?
He was one of her teachers.
Hey, he gave me my first cigar, front row.
Oh man.
Cue dice.
Well, that's definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes. I don't know where you go from that. You know, from a storyline perspective,
we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Jordan Gray. Just give props to Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich. Last woman standing match. They beat the fuck out of each other. I think they're still beating the shit out of each other in their dream. Are
they going to do the thing where they're going to come back next week and they're still fighting?
Yeah, I want to see more and more. Yeah, they should do like that old, like the from the old days, from the indie days, from the Florida Championship Wrestling. Yeah, come back next week. Still fighting.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Onward.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
hold on. One more quick thing about Impact. We cannot move on without mentioning the match with Sami Callihan and oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name right now.
Eric Young.
Yes, Eric Young.
Right.
Thank you. That was an absolutely insane match. Insane to the point that they only put the first 10 minutes of it on YouTube and said the rest of it was too graphic for social media, and it was only available to Impact Plus members.
Bloody mess.
That's smart marketing.
It was
That's really smart.
Oh my God. The good thing it was the main event, because by the end of that match, that mat was just absolutely splatter painted in red. And I loved every second of it.
Man.
You sadistic thing, you.
I don't know.
Well, okay. All right. Well, we've got just a few minutes before Full Gear starts, so let's hit a couple of the big matches. We've been talking about some of these matches leading up to the show, and for me, the two big standout matches are the ones that the two that most people are talking about, and that's Britt versus Saraya, and the main event, which is going to be Moxley defending his title against MJF. I am conflicted with these matches because they've positioned all four of these people as good guys, essentially. Shenanigans can happen, storylines will change and whatever, but going into tonight's pay-per-view, we have four good guys facing off. I don't know who to root for. I'm confused. Somebody help me.
I can tell you one person I'm not rooting for, but
let me guess.
Yeah, we know.
Go Saraya.
Yeah, you guys know I'm a big Saraya fan. I've been a huge fan of her since her debut in WWE. And I stuck by her through all her issues and everything, and now that she's back, I'm super excited. So I hope she's gonna have a great match. I'm sure she's been training, kind of brushing up, trying to get the rest off a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I think the whole who's the heel, who's the face kind of conversation, I think it kind of goes back to that, new kayfabe concept a little bit, and that, things are different nowadays, that I don't think there has to be a clear face and a clear heel. I think a lot of things are kind of, the lines are blurred. I think these days a lot of fans, because we know so much about how the business works and we get to know these people outside of their character on social media and stuff, the heels aren't traditional heels just because we recognize their talent and what they do. I use The Miz as a perfect example. I've always been a big Miz fan. He's always been a heel. But I sit there and watch him on TV and recognize he is really, really good at what he does. Even if that's being a bad guy. So I just think the lines on heel and face are blurred these days, and it doesn't really have to be okay, I'm confused. Who do I root for? You root for who you like.
Yeah, and that's fair. And so, Brian, I want to get your perspective on this, because if you've got one of your biggest matches on a pay-per-view is, personal feelings aside, just looking at the characters, right? You look at the character of Britt Baker, who was on Busted Open this week, talking about how the people at AEW have worked so hard through the pandemic. She cuts this big babyface promo. She does the same thing on Dynamite, big babyface promo. And then you've got Saraya talking about her big comeback. I think it's really hard. How do you position this match in a way that you can clearly tell the audience who to root for? I get your point, Deb, but it just makes it hard for me to root for either one of them, because I'm torn. Because now I'm like, okay, well, both of them have good points. I don't know.
I mean, I think that at the end, that like Deb said, the audience is going to decide. I think, it might be 50-50 at first, but if Britt goes to her normal Britt and has outside help, you've already going to establish that she's clearly the heel in the thing. Mm-hmm. If she decides not to come out with anyone else, and then she's just doing this battle one-on-one, it can go, maybe it switches the other way. But I don't really see that crowd really booing Saraya, so to speak, because they're going to be happy for her. I think they'll probably have a really basic type match, not to insult them, but very safe style match, where it's like they're not going to do too many high risk things, just to like, because I can see them doing that for her, Saraya, just to get her feet back on the ground. So it's probably going to be more of that, face off type wrestling, to where they're getting the crowd going and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the crowd's going to cheer who they want to cheer for. And I think it's going to be a little 50-50, and then probably more towards Saraya towards the end.
Yeah. And I don't think of like a 50-50. That's not a bad thing. I mean, think back to like The Rock and Stone Cold. Yeah. They were heels that kind of turned into faces because the crowd grew to love them. And there's been so many matches over the years that both people had massive fan bases. So it doesn't, I don't think it has to be like the crowd 100% cheering one person and 100% booing the other person.
I have to give Steve credit. Britt will never be a babyface because she cursed the Penguins with her attendance in 2 Stanley Cup playoff games. There you go. There's a reason to root against her.
Kudos.
Thanks.
So I've got something to further Brian's point. The Rock and Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hogan at WrestleMania. The Rock was the face. Hogan at the beginning of the match was the heel, but the crowd determined who they wanted to cheer for, and they were loud for Hulk Hogan there in Canada. So by the end of that match, you had The Rock, as popular as The Rock is, doing heel stuff because Hogan was just so over with fans, and you saw what happened at the end of that match. So to Brian's point, that's an example.
Yeah. That was the match I was going to refer to, because, the Hogan and Rock match, they didn't really have to do much at all. The crowd was just getting behind it and then getting it going.
Yeah.
One thing I'm concerned about is this match is actually overshadowing the most important match for the women, and that's the title match, So I hear a lot of people talking about the Britt and Saraya match, but I don't hear anyone really talking about the championship match.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think we've seen this now where Jamie Hayter has built quite a fan following. And I think there's a strong level of support behind her going into this match for the interim women's world championship against Toni Storm. Mike, you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was just going to agree. I was just going to say some of the things I took away from Britt this week, though, by it being on Busted Open, and also her promo the other day, was she didn't say I or me. It was we. When she was talking about Daily Split, she was talking we. And that got me. It was like a complete. Both of the promo and the interview were like complete face promos. It was total face. So that's got me intrigued, because I'm just wondering, but. I think in the end she's going to turn on Hayter, and Hayter, I hope, is taking the belt tonight. But before we lead in, I'll give people the rundown on the 0 hour, the preview. Ricky Starks beat Brian Cage with the Rochambeau, so he's going to the world title eliminator tournament. Best Friends, of course, went over the Factory, and I'm wondering if anyone cares about the Factory.
Not really, but I did see that Danhausen came out and his face paint looked a little different.
He was the secret. Yes, they were going to have a secret.
Secret.
Yeah, a real secret. And Eddie Kingston just went over Jun Akiyama. And he was very emotional, and he's just finished firing up the crowd. And back to you, front row.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Takeshita, who was just signed AEW. From everything I hear, he's a great wrestler. I'm super excited to see him on my TV more often. And from the people, Mark Henry's had some glowing things to say about him personally. So. I think that's a good signing for them.
Yeah, I've been very, very impressed with Takeshita since he's been introduced to the AEW audience. So I'm glad that they finally signed him. I think it was a little bit overdue.
AR Fox also, right?
Yes. Oh, I didn't. Yep.
They signed AR Fox. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh,
awesome. Okay.
Breaking news. Excellent. It might not be breaking.
Yeah.
It's breaking to me. So
Yeah, breaking to me.
it's new to you.
Brand new
It's broke
information.
news to you. Broke news.
But so while we just have a couple minutes, I wanted to just mention, like, this is the same issue this same issue with MJF and Moxley. The only difference is, for me, I don't see a world in which MJF doesn't show his true colors tonight. I think this quote unquote babyface run for him or turn for him is going to be short lived, because he's just best as a bad guy. The crowd can like him as much as he wants, but he shines as a heel. So I don't see that going past tonight. I think he's going to get some help. And it would be interesting to see if he walks away with the title or if there's like a DQ or something. But I think this is going to be a lot more cut and dry than the women's match.
I think no matter what happens between Mox and MJF, it's going to be pretty awesome.
Right. Me and Mongrovian were talking earlier today, and we both agree that we're going to see William Regal laying in a bloody pool in the middle of the ring after the match is over tonight, because MJF is going to show him who the devil is. Because that phrase he keeps saying, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist, keeps playing in my head because they keep bringing it out. So you know that's coming. Yeah. Just like the bully swerve, we're going to see an MJF swerve tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, we're gonna go do that. Get some snacks, get some drinks, daddy sodas, whatever your preference is. I'm gonna get some soda and a cigar.
I gotta go get my ribs with JR seasoning. Buy it for Christmas.
Right. Nice. Yep. All right. So where can
Speaking of ribs, Brian's gonna have to show us some barbecue when we go to San Antonio.
Yes,
we're gonna do a lot of that.
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
We're not getting no pierogies.
You're gonna have. You guys are gonna have to tease me with pictures. Like I'm gonna be so. I feel so left out that I feel like I'm the only one that's not going.
You still got time to get those tickets.
Yeah, the ticket for the show is not the problem.
No, we jump on the Greyhound.
Yeah, okay.
Tony might be in your area. Just jump in the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to send me lots of pictures of barbecue. I need some more. I need some more Texas barbecue. I need it.
Oh yeah,
right, we're on it.
Oh yeah,
Texas barbecue.
Buc-ee's.
Yeah, that's a must, right? All right, folks. We had fun tonight. Now we got to go we'll watch this pay-per-view. Tony, where can people find you on the socials?
At Tony Justice AJFA. And if you're a Metallica fan, you know what that means. Ooh
yeah.
Deb?
At That's So Debonair on the Twitter machine and on the Instagram.
Mike?
I just like to say I cannot wait to go see my friend. Look good. B. Brian Cervantes. I love that fucking guy. I cannot wait to see him. And I was robbed. That was it. Forget fucking Montreal. The screw job was MSG 123.84. Fuck you, Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Is that all in hashtag? Or?
I'm done.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't want to find me. Don't worry.
Yeah. And Brian, I know your socials are limited these days. Where can people look?
Well, I always tell, I'm down to Twitter, and I'm just hoping Twitter don't crash, So the only place that I always tell people, don't follow me, just go follow Mission Pro, and that, that's what I want people to follow is Mission Pro Wrestling.
Hell yeah.
Yep. Go to missionprowrestling.com for all the links to all the information about the upcoming events and tickets. There's links to some great videos. You guys have done some awesome interviews. Emily and Dr. The Wife have done some great shows lately. So go check out everything Mission Pro. Tune in on December 10th for Mission Pro Silver Bells 2 and on Title Match Network. I am PW Front Row, and you can find us at Nation's Corner on Twitter and at The Nation's Corner across all of the other socials. All right, guys, go have fun. We'll see y'all next week. Later.
Listen.